Make more meals for less with Dunnes Stores, where you'll save in the aisle with ingredients for a tasty cod tray bake. That's flaky cod fillets, 250-gram pack, just €4. Baked in the oven with vibrant vegetables and herbs, like baby potatoes, chives, carrots, and a 69-cent courgette. All from the Dunnes Stores range. Plus, you can save again at the till with a 5 off 25 grocery voucher. Dunnes Stores. Always better value. Terms and conditions apply. Voucher can be used on next in-store grocery shop of €25 or more.
Download Whiskey Hell Podcast. We call attention to the mainstream media narratives weekly in hopes that you'll have fun with how ridiculous the news really is. We don't want to change your mind. We just want to give you perspective so that you can choose more wisely and be more aware. Couple that with great craft beer, hilarious stories, deep thoughts, and real conversations. We know you're going to enjoy this. Download Whiskey Hell Podcast anywhere you find outstanding shows.
You are listening to a Fonz Media Network production.
Welcome to this special episode number 30 of World Ablaze with yours truly, George Fonz. Today I have special guest Jesse Rucinski, former Marine and current host of the Jesse Rucinski Show. He is an independent podcaster in the news and politics category. He's known for telling it like it is while backing it up with truth and actual data. We thoroughly enjoyed speaking with Jesse, and I'm very confident that you'll enjoy this conversation as well. So please sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Okay, today I have Jesse Rucinski with me, and I came across Jesse when I was on Good Pods, and I was doing some promotion. I came across this podcast, and I started listening to it. Come to realize that he's very similar to what we do. We have similar views, similar outlooks, and he's also an independent just like we are. So I thought I would reach out and see if he would be interested in just hanging out on the show. And I'd like to get to know him better and let the audience know him better. And also just pick his brain on a few things. So welcome, Jesse. And we did talk a little bit earlier, but how are you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic. And I appreciate the time because time is precious. So
it very much is. Very much is. And I'm glad you're here too, man. I appreciate you agreeing to do this. I have some notes and whatnot that, based on info that you sent me previously, we had, some back and forth and, trying to prep for this. And if you're okay, I do want to ask some questions about your background just so we can set it up a bit so people understand where you come from and how you came to be where you're at. And one of those things was the Marine Corps. And I remember you said, or you sent me anyway, the information stating that you joined them back in 2006. And so you achieved the rank of sergeant. I believe it was E5 you said. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I was going to ask you because I forget the town. Where were you born and raised?
Well, I was born in the beautiful, beautiful city of South Brunswick, New Jersey.
Okay.
And then thankfully we moved and I was raised in the much more beautiful, small little town of Whitehaven, Pennsylvania, up in the Poconos. Beautiful little place. Love it.
Really? How long were you there in that town?
14 years.
14 years. So how old were you when you joined the Marines?
I was already, swore in and set to go to boot camp before my 18th birthday. But I left for boot camp 2 weeks after my 18th birthday.
Was that something like were the Marines something specifically that you wanted to do that in your mind you already wanted to be a Marine?
I mean, it was one of those, my buddy Alex, who I graduated with. He was already in the delayed entry program and did all that. And he just happened to offer my buddy. Well, we were sitting in some computer class in high school, first period. Couldn't tell he was first period. I was barely even conscious, but he asked him if he wanted to join. And I was like, thanks for asking me, bro. And there was a good chuckle. And I figured if I was going to, join one, no offense to the rest of them, but I was going to go join the best and the crazy ones. And yeah, my mom was pretty sad, actually. Pretty easy on that one. It was probably the best decision, easiest decision I made my entire life.
Really? You want to elaborate on that a little bit?
I mean, I must say, that I had the greatest, probably, one of the greatest Marine Corps recruiters of all time. Shout out to Ron Krumenacker, wherever you are right now. But he was a great, great salesman. And, it's just the amount of training, how long we do everything compared to everyone else. Our distance is longer on marksmanship, stuff. It's just, there was just more to it and it was more elaborate and the longest one that they had there. And I was like, yeah, you know what? I think that fits my mentality and my temperament pretty well. Cause I wasn't always as laid back as I am now. I still have my moments, but back then it just fit, cause I was just go, 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 high energy, high testosterone, just a million miles an hour. And everything that they set in front of me made complete sense and fit into all of that. So no offense to the other branches of their recruiters, that they didn't sell me that well. They tried. Didn't work though.
So the demands, expectations, and basically the bar that they set really appealed to you and your personality.
Yes, it was. Couldn't have been any more perfect fit at that point in my life. If I tried, minus how shy I was, but don't worry, I grew out of that too. Look at me now.
Right? Now you're a podcaster, among other things, I'm sure.
Man, the people in high school when I started the podcast, they're like, you started a what? I'm like, yeah, I know, right? Well, we were friends for 12 years and I only said like 15 words to you.
Wow.
Yeah.
How long were you in the Marines total?
It was 4 years, 11 months, and 19 days. I only remember the 11 months and 19 days so well because I was on med hold because I had knee issues before I deployed.
Okay.
And then I finished off my knee issue while I was in country, like halfway through it. And then by the time I got back, it was just, everything was torn and blown to bejesus. So, I was on med hold for a while till they said I was put back together enough to go on to my future endeavors, as they put it.
What was wrong with your knee? You okay answering that question?
Oh yeah. Yeah. To make a long story short, I first, had the problem in December of 07. So it was very early on, just because we were running way too much. They told me it was runner's knee for 3 months. I'm like, it's still swollen. I haven't run on it. And, so I went and deployed and did all that. And then by the time I got back from the deployment, I needed a new kneecap. My meniscus was shot. My patella, that's done. My ACL, MCL, and PCL all had like multiple partial tears in it, going all the way down it. And my Achilles wasn't in the greatest shape, which is why I now have a piece of a cadaverous shin bone screwed into my Achilles to keep it taut for the rest of my life or until they replace the thing. But pretty much I just blew everything in there to pieces.
Wow.
Long story short.
Yeah, it sounds like they literally rebuilt your entire knee. Plus you have something there to hold your Achilles together.
Yep.
Wow. That's crazy. And that was just all from the workload of running and doing what you do on the terrain every day?
Yeah, and my platoon wasn't, anyone that was in there, if they, they'll comment if they listen to this. We ran and ran and ran and ran some more. And we were going like 10, 15 miles a day down dark tank trails. And if you've never seen a tank trail, they leave really big ruts and stuff when you can't see it. Parts of your body twist and pop that shouldn't. And when you're jumping up and down off of tanks all day, it was just sooner or later it was going to happen. And then it was amazing when it finally went out and like fully went out in Iraq. Like that was one of those, that was an experience. There was a lot of laughter that night. Don't ask me how, I don't know, because it sure didn't feel good, but we were all laughing and that was the important part. And I finished out the deployment and came back, and 3 knee procedures later, they finally told me that my services were no longer needed.
Wow. So just like that, they were done.
Oh yeah. Like I was supposed to get out October 23rd, and they pulled me into the office on a Thursday, I believe. And they're like, you're getting out the 23rd. I'm like, I know. And they're like, No, like the 23rd, like next week.
Wow.
That's great.
How
Thanks, guys.
How did you feel about that decision?
Uh,
I mean, were you ready,
I mean-
given the injuries and everything, or were you still wanting to finish out your term?
I mean, and it was one of those I was ready, but I mean, you can never be ready. And I thought we were going to work on my right knee afterwards, but that's still an argument with the VA and a whole nother story that we'll get into at some other time in my life. But I mean, it was one of those I was ready for October. I wasn't so ready to have it thrust upon me with like 5 days notice, because I didn't have like all my stuff, like final physical, my VA stuff, to get that started before I got out. Like all of that was scheduled for months down the road, and I couldn't move it in time. And that just, so I was, but I wasn't. I'm thankful though that, that it turned out, the way it did, because even though it was, a cluster, it worked out, fairly good, all things considered with it. So
all in all, you're
mixed emotions.
Yeah, mixed emotions, but all in all, you're okay.
Yeah. All the things, how it all went down, I mean, it could have been 1,000 times worse. I know people that had it way, way worse than I did with medical stuff that never got fixed. So all in all, they gave me 3 procedures. They tried to fix it 3 times. None of them stuck just because there was so much. And, that was all they could do. So I took it. Didn't like it at the time, but I mean, it was going to. It was one of those things. But all in all, I think it couldn't have worked out, any better for it being moved up as much as it was.
Well, that's good to hear. I was going to go back to your deployment in Iraq, and how long were you there?
Just under a year. We were roughly just under the 10-month mark, like by a couple days. Supposed to be there for 15. We came back after 10, thanks to the 1st of the 82nd for coming out early. They robbed me of a few months, and that extra $1,000 you get every month you're there after 12. Don't worry, I still remember that.
Were you deployed, or did you volunteer for that? I mean, how did?
Oh, I volunteered. I volunteered to deploy.
Oh, did you?
Because tank battalion, they only have, there's only first tanks and second tanks. I mean, at the time, and second tanks doesn't even exist anymore. But only one line company, because you only have H&S company. We had Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, Delta, and I think we stood up Echo at that point. And only one line company got to deploy at a time. So they asked for people to volunteer to go, to 3 separate places. And I just threw my hand up in the air as fast as I could to get as far away from that place.
Really?
It was because, if I didn't do it then, I mean, most people, I've known people that were there for, 8 years, and they never got to deploy. They never got to go anywhere, just because, it's such a small thing that there's not a lot of them that get to go anywhere, especially as a mechanic. Like operators, they all get to go, but every line company only had a select number of mechanics, and we were getting so many extra mechanics. Like every time the school graduated a class, we'd get like another 15. So we were just piling up. And, at some point, it's just not possible or feasible for you to get out. So they said, who wants out? And I threw both my hands in the air and I ran out those doors as fast as humanly possible.
So you were wanting to get deployed. Like,
oh yeah,
you just wanted to get away from where you're at and actually go fulfill your duties as a Marine, based on how you were trained and what you were meant to do. Am I correct in saying that?
Go do something. Yeah. Like I mean, that was like the whole goal. That was one of them when, I joined the Marine Corps, was, get to go on a deployment and, just get to go actually do the thing and, see, things outside of the country here and, how everything is over there and what was actually happening and, all of that. And again, I didn't get an option before that just because there were so many people in front of me to go to line companies. And I was like, please. And it really was, I mean, it was just tank battalion. Ask anyone that was there. It's like the most joyous and miserable place on the planet, and I still love it dearly. But I needed to get out of there. And thankfully, I actually got, like, out of the 3, I didn't get to pick which one I wanted to go on. I just threw my name in the hat to go on one of them. And thankfully, I actually ended up on the one that I wanted out of the three. So that one actually worked out really cool as well. I didn't get lucky much, but that was cool.
So once you were there, and your time spent there, what was your experience like in Iraq at that time?
So surprisingly, we didn't, like when we got there, like we took over from an army unit that had the base, and we took over. So we built a giant concrete wall and compound around us, the little village right outside the gate there. Those people were bringing us food and helping us build this wall. Again, they tried to blow us up a few times. Things happen. Get shot at. Things happen. It's a deployment. Sooner or later, those things are bound to happen. But it was just as crazy as it sounds, because we were working. Sometimes we wouldn't get off the road until back until 5:30 in the morning. And then we'd immediately go into regimental PT, which I still think is really dumb to have us all together in one spot in that situation, but whole other story again. But we were working sun up to way too early in the morning, 6 days a week. And it's weird to say it was like a vacation, but when you're here, all stateside, and you're doing it, all kinds of, family, all kinds of life things happen, the unexpected stuff that, we all go through. But that was, 10 months where it was just work and then work and then work and then go on the road and then run and, grab your laundry from the people, try to get some chow if you can, and then go PT and then back to work. And it was like that, it was just continuous without any crazy unexpected stuff.
Yeah. It's almost like you didn't have time to really take it in. They just kept you going.
Oh yeah. We were good, but again, we were where I was, really wasn't having too much, really just anything crazy going on, which, thankfully we didn't have a lot of. We got into situations when we were outside of the walls, but we were inside the walls. It was, just, we got to see the culture. We got to, I did get to interact with a lot of sheiks and, just civilians that were working, on base for us and do all that. So, I got to do a lot of that stuff, but it was busy. It was really hot. And I had probably some of the best time of my entire life, as odd as that might sound to some people, but never going to get that back again. It was a great time. I did my job. I did it well. And we got a lot of, we accomplished everything that we had to, more than we probably, had to, because we were just getting volunteered to do everything. And it was a hell of an experience. Pardon my French, but I will say that that was amazing. And it was completely different culturally, all of that, but sometimes you got to take it in. During sandstorms, you really got to stop and sit down and think when you were just stuck inside for days on end. But otherwise, I was so busy that you didn't notice anything.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, when you with your experiences in interacting with different cultures and being outside of the United States, did any of that, when you came back or even while you were there, affect your views after on how you saw things?
The whole grand question of why are we even here thing. I've had those deep conversations with that, but the people over there that, at least the ones, whether it was the engineers that, went to school for that, it was their workers. Cause every time they were there, if I got stuck, if I got through the straw for, security detail and just watching them while they were there doing stuff, I don't know. It was like they were, as much like regular, just regular like me. Like when I was working a job before the Marine Corps, they were just there. All of them, they were just there trying to make a wage, make money to feed their family, to try to better their lives. And, and it was really freakishly how similar we all were with them. If that makes any sense.
It does. I think it's crazy. Yeah, I think it's crazy. Most people, you kind of come to find that humans are human. Like we're all people. We're all in the end wanting to try to get the same thing: food, shelter, safety.
Yep. Doesn't matter where you are. It's all they want.
Right.
And that was because I always, thought that. And it was nice to go and, actually physically get to see that with the many, 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 different people that I got to work with. And again, it was all the way from like, higher up there sheiks all the way down to, just general laborers. And for the most part, I mean, we all just sat there and laughed and, talked about our families and, just basic stuff. And that was probably the best part about all of that. Cause you always hear all kinds, no matter where you go, you hear all the noise that people make about it. But generally, no matter where I've been, everyone just wants the same thing. And there's no hard feelings towards us. They all had their views on everything was before all of that, but there's no hard feelings towards us. They just wanted to, break bread, have lunch, have laughs, go home to their families and repeat. And I appreciated that more than anything.
So it was it's not like you ran into a lot of individuals necessarily that had extreme views and were promoting violence and whatnot while you're deployed. I mean, obviously we were there for a reason, but in your experience, that wasn't like the day in and day out for you.
Yeah, it wasn't at all. The only bad, times I had to worry about those people is when we were on the aptly named Graveyard. That was the name of the road. That was, and we always ran into some of those type people that made things kind of interesting at 3:30 in the morning.
Wow.
Especially, I don't want to know why they named the road. I mean, I know why. We all know why they named the Graveyard. That was, and I never actually had to deal with any of those people, but all the, civilian base, they were all really actually good, honest people. And I respected all of them for it because it proved what I thought about, humanity as, a whole. Most of us just want the same things. And
yeah, but that's good to hear. Cool. That's good to hear from you because when you're cut off, as living in America, a lot of people just only believe what they're told or being reported about, right? And you're led to believe, this person bad, that person evil, America's the enemy to the world, etc. And it's always good to hear someone else's perspective actually has been out there and to bring back testimony of, well, people are people. We all kind of want the same things. It's unfortunate these conflicts happen and we're all caught in the middle of it. But I think the average person would rather not be in those conflicts whatsoever. So
exactly,
it's good to hear. I got to be honest. It's good to hear what you had to say about that. And it wasn't, fortunately for you, not all gloom and doom. So
yeah, I got lucky. I got the one that I wanted. I got sheer luck and everything it was what you'd hope it, to be with the civilian base, everything. And it was touching to see it.
What year did you, you probably said it, but what year did you get out of the Marines?
2011.
Okay. 2011. That's when you got out. I don't know. Were you always, this question I'm kind of trying to set this up. Were you always a conservative leaning in your views before you deployed?
Yeah.
Okay. And then after coming back and experiencing what you did it change anything about your views as far as, when you came back to the United States to live back here as a civilian?
I mean, it's just, I think emboldened is the best word. My feelings towards, the machine, as I like to call it. Yeah.
The machine.
Some people call some people call it a swamp, some people call it whatever, but I just call it the big machine that keeps chugging and promoting all this. And all you gotta do is turn that stuff off and just go talk to people.
I was going to go into one of the stories that you were telling me earlier. So you come back, your experience was good, you survived, everything was fine. You come back, and I believe this is after you came back, on a Thanksgiving, you got hit by a truck, but as a pedestrian. You weren't in a car, you got hit walking. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
What the heck happened there?
Thanksgiving Eve, 2019. My last thought that I remember was, man, it's way too muggy out here for me to be walking right now. I should turn around at the fountain right here at the beginning of my neighborhood. Well, it turns out I didn't turn around. And thankfully I don't remember, actually getting hit. Thank my blessings for that one, but it was a full-sized white Chevy Silverado going approximately, they said 65, that
65
sent me into orbit.
So you got hit walking by a car going 65 miles an hour.
Yep, big old white Silverado, big old thing.
Was it dark,
right in
foggy? Like how?
Oh, it was.
How was it that this person hit you and not saw you?
Oh, I have no idea. I only got mixed things, stories from people that, well, the one person that actually stuck around when I got hit. And she really, I can say when she tried to tell me the story, she was just more tearing up and thankful that her and her husband stopped, because they were right there when they saw it. And they stopped and she pulled my head out of the road, because anyone that's ever been here in Jacksonville knows that anyone sees anything like that, they're not stopping to help. They're hauling the mail so they don't get stuck in traffic behind everything when it stops. And she was lucky enough to go and pull my, head out of the road, because she said she only looked up and just saw it, went, oh no, as I was hurled down the road. Thankfully she didn't, but all the cameras were like, no one could actually pick any of it up. And I've never talked to the person that did it. So, and no one else stuck around to even say anything. So I'm kind of grateful that I don't have to know. I've wondered many, many, many times how, it happened. I crossed that intersection. I mean, there were times I was crossing that intersection like 6 times a day, just, walking back and forth, because I used to just do that all the time. Hit myself, in a reasonable size, besides round, which by the way is my current, size. But I don't know what happened, but I know, I know everything from that moment on just kept getting more unfathomable and unbelievable, and then there were shades of ridiculous, and somehow I laughed through it all. Like I don't understand how I found everything so funny, but I think that was just the mere fact of when I finally, snapped to. I was like, they told me what happened. I was in there wriggling my toes. I'm like, that shouldn't be like that, because they told me what happened. Like something that big was going that fast, hit me directly in my left hip, and I went flying. Like I scorpioned when I hit the asphalt on my face.
Wow.
And neck was fine. Spine ended up being fine. Like I broke my pelvis in 3 pieces. That didn't feel good, by the way. But like I was sitting there like, well, my legs still move. Well, I mean, they hurt, but and I was just grateful that, I mean, it's very cliche to say I got a second chance, but I stand firm on there's no reason why, shouldn't be still in that wheelchair that they gave me, or, even worse off from what happened.
Well, based on what you're saying, I mean, you got hit at 65 miles an hour, flew, scorpion on the floor or the pavement. And the only thing that really happened was you broke your pelvis in a few places. Your back was fine. You're lucky you're not freaking paralyzed. How long was your recovery? From shattering your pelvis, basically. Like how long did that take?
I mean, how long should it have taken compared to how long the VA made it take? I mean, this is with 8 screws holding everything together. By the way, I did not know that they made screws long enough surgical to go from one side of your hip straight through the other. It turns out they really do. And it looks really cool in X-ray. But I think I was like, by like the end of the first week, when they're like, don't lift anything, don't do this, don't do that. And God bless them. I mean, I shouldn't have been. But by the end of that, like my friends were coming to check on me and they had to get the garbage out of like the garage. And my buddy Dave, God bless him, good old Master Guns Patterson now. But he was like, pull the pin, lift the garage door. He's like, what pin? And then there I was hurling like 50-pound bags of like cat litter out of my way. They're like, you shouldn't be doing that. I'm like, I know. But I was up there. I was taking care of myself. I was cooking for myself. I was doing laundry. I was doing all that within like a week and a half.
Really?
And they got me, x-rays done within a month. And that was through the VA, but the VA couldn't get me into an actual doctor, to get me actually cleared out of the wheelchair. So, that took, I want to say, month and a half, 2 months for them to finally like get me out of it, the wheelchair. But they like looked at the x-rays and they're like, everything looks healed within a month. Again, it took them forever to get me anywhere. But again, the beginning of 2020, depending on where you were, things started getting a little dumb. So that
did you heal?
Certainly.
Did you heal correctly? Like, do you have any issues?
Oh yeah. Thanks to, everything that, because again, pelvis was broken 3 places, broke my middle finger on my right hand, except in the middle of my hand, like in my palm there, that they never like reset, which I still find weird. Because because I had to press myself up to get in and out of the wheelchair and really do anything with a broken hand. That was weird. But my nose is broken in 2 spaces. Thankfully, they didn't have to straighten it because it stayed aligned when it broke twice.
Interesting.
And I got a half tooth. It still looks awesome whenever I smile. But I partially tore some more ligaments in my knee, and I finally finished off my LCL. So that's got all kinds of tears in it now, just from the bend, they said, when my leg came down. But so, my left leg's normally on average from like knee down, like an extra like 3 inches than my right leg all the time, without doing anything. So, that's a lasting effect, which doesn't feel good, like at all. But again, because of my knee, they told me that I needed a replacement when I was 22 and that I was never going to run again. So, it's not like this took that away from me. It's just a lot of pain and swelling. And, I know my limits. I then push my limits. But who doesn't? That's the worst thing. It's just swelling. That was my second traumatic brain injury, because I did get one, overseas, but that had nothing to do with getting blown up or anything. That was just a crazy person. So, but I had that, and I did, I have, my migraines are a little worse, but, and I had crazy, like, directional vertigo, like that would just come out of nowhere. That lasted for like nonstop, I'd say, for 2 years or so after it, like where I'd be fine for a while. Then I'd have like, 2 45-pound dumbbells over my head, and I'd be laying back, and then suddenly everything would start spinning on me. That was kind of uncomfortable for a while, but otherwise everything's perfectly fine. I don't know how, again, by the grace of someone, someone out there was looking out for me.
Yeah, it sounds like after everything that happened, seems like you were obviously meant to still be here.
So I said, second chance. When I snapped too, I wriggled my toes. I'm like, what? I'm good. Like, they're like, I was cracking jokes. The nurses and the doctor were looking at my friend that came to see me. They're like, she's like, oh, no, what? That's normal. That's him. Like, oh, I thought that was a head injury. She's like, no, man, he's good. You'll know if he's not good. And I walked away way more unscathed than I ever should have been. The nose surgery was a little weird. That's had some lasting effects with some like drainage and stuff. But if the worst that came out of it was my leg swollen, my hip hurts, and my drainage is a little weird. That's one of those blessings. That's a second chance. And that's when I started really, I pushed my foot to the pedal on getting the podcast thing going and doing all that. It's like, why? Because I always talked about it. I never did it.
So did that second chance motivate you to get into podcasting? Is that what caused you to?
Oh, it motivated me to finally, it caused me to finally actually do it, because I was talking about it for, forever. Then it took me, a while after recovery and all that to finally, just because COVID pushed back them fixing my nose. So, and that was kind of awkward trying to, talk and breathe and all that. Cause I mean, it was kind of janky, I guess is the best way to put it. But it finally, it pushed me to finally actually do it. Cause I was like, I mean, theoretically speaking, with that accident, I shouldn't even be here to have, the opportunity to do it. So I wasn't letting the opportunity go to waste this time.
With all that being said, your longest running podcast, your baby, as you said, is the Jesse Rucinski Show.
Yes, sir.
What led to you wanting to actually get into podcasting, first of all, and secondly, and we kind of talked about this before we started recording this, why politics? Because it's kind of a narrow space, and it's kind of taboo. People don't want to really talk about it, but yet it's one of the bigger categories there is out there. What led you to want to podcast and specifically get into the political space in podcasting?
Well, see, because, when I was growing up, like we all have like, our parents, and we have another, people that we call mom and dad, our friends' parents down the road. We had all that. And, they were always like every night, just local news followed by, I don't remember what, I think they watched the local news twice. And then they'd turn on and, I know it might be taboo to say his name now, but, the O'Reilly factor was there. There was Bill saying his thing and he'd watch, but he was watching like everybody across everything just to get, the perspective of all the different ones. I could just see a bunch of their faces from the other networks. I just can't tell you any of their names. And I mean, who doesn't remember Bill O'Reilly? I mean, honestly.
I mean, I definitely remember Bill O'Reilly.
Yeah. He was a big name, but so sorry, world, but I can't remember anyone on the other networks. It was a long time ago, but, it was always just, we always had conversations about that like type of stuff, even growing up, and about the local politics and, then obviously the military. I mean, everything from that all the way down to coaching Little League here. Yeah. In North Carolina, when I did that, like that even had its own set of politics. Like politics really, I mean, touches every aspect of your life. And I wanted to, and I didn't really think that the news media was giving anyone like a fair swing at things, no matter which way it was, because everything's so biased and skewed one way, no matter what. Everyone, can admit to that, I think. And again, it was just everything. And I saw like all kinds of, between my liberal friends, who I still miss dearly, they didn't die anyone, they just stopped talking to me. And think we weren't even talking politics when they did that. They just vanished one day. But, it was just, I didn't think there was enough, conversations about, what was actually in like the bills and what was actually happening out there. And I've, even through everything, tried to stay, up to date on a lot of it. And I still, like, you go through my phone right now, like my files is just filled up with so many bills and all kinds of stuff in there. Like I just always been my thing. And I didn't think that there was really a lot of fair shticks out there. Like that's the nicest, most pleasant way to put that. And I wanted to just, put what I knew out there to people, because I figured it was, a better way to grow out of, all of that. Cause I really was just an awkward, shy kid. And I keep telling everyone now my body might not be able to be in the Marine Corps, but if this mind right here, like, and my mentality now was there back then, like I would have been like super Marine. Like I would have been fan. Like I was just always shy and awkward. And it helped me come out of that bubble too by doing this.
It's always, if I knew then what I knew now, right?
Yeah. Like if I just, God, I tell everyone like, well, like any regrets that I wasn't like mentally here then, it takes time to grow out of that stuff. And, I just wanted to give, and I didn't think there was enough, little guys out there in the podcasting world. Cause again, like we were talking before, like all they have to do is stop being a senator, stop playing a sport and they automatically, just start one and bang, they have millions of views right there.
Without any real credibility in the space,
Yeah.
They just have a famous name and then there you go. Yeah.
Yeah. And I just didn't think that, especially conservatives, I didn't think we, had a fair spot in the marketplace per se. Yeah. Cause there's a lot more on the other side than there is, us, in my opinion, especially indie ones. And again, really just helped me come out of my shell, help me express everything that I was reading. And I figured even if I can only, help inform or change one person's mind just by reading these things to them, then I'm doing something better for, the world. And it was better than holding all these thoughts in my head because, did I have a lot of thoughts.
Right?
A lot.
It's, yeah, you do.
It's never ending.
I can say that I'm a person whose mind is constantly spinning, and it's good to get those thoughts out. I think I can relate with you there for sure. And I also find in this space that the problem with politics is it's always treated as taboo. But as you said, and I completely agree, if you ignore it, it's going to eat you, because politics literally, if you let it, decides your fate. If you don't pay attention to what's happening, you're going to suffer the consequence. You really are. And I think that you're right. There isn't enough independent voices in this space to get out, opposing opinions and present facts and whatnot. And it seems like it's a very one-sided category in the podcasting space or in the media in general. As you said, it's mostly democratically led or liberal-minded podcasts or news outlets and whatnot. But the problem with that is, and I've said this many times, and I want to know if you think the same thing, that most people in their day-to-day lives are so busy paying the bills, figuring out what they're going to feed their kids for dinner, whatever they got on their plate, that the only thing they know is the headline, and they don't take the time to go past the headline to know what's really going on. Point in case is fast forward, and here we are. Maybe this is a good segue. I wasn't going to do this yet, but here we are with all of a sudden, everybody realizes Joe Biden has an issue when realistically his entire presidency, he's had this issue. It's just nobody was paying attention because the average person doesn't read past the headline. They just take everything for face value. And what I noticed from listening to your show is you kind of go past that. You're like, no, there's more to that story. Here's some facts. Here's what's happening. And guess what? I got this from a government website, and I do the same thing. It's funny how much you can find on actual government websites because they have to report that information. They just don't tell you they do, but they have to. They have to expose it to the public. It's funny how many people don't realize that. And then when you hit them with these facts, they're in disbelief. They're like, "There's no way. You're talking nonsense." It's ridiculous.
I get yelled at a lot, and I'm like, "Bro, it's from like the CBP's website. Like, go on Google,
right?
Type in CBP, and then whatever you're looking for, Google will do you the favor of pulling the exact page. So you just have to click, and it's in front of your face.
I mean, that is the magic of living in today's world.
It takes 9 seconds. Whoever would have thought back, because I pick on my girlfriend all the time because she's younger than me. She's from the phone generation. I'm like, whoever would have thought that, I had to go to drive 15 minutes to get to the library, to go through the thing, to find the card, to see what shelf the book is on, just so I can go find anything out. All you people have to do is just pull up that thing that's in your hand 24/7. And people are less informed now.
Isn't that crazy? And I remember that. Like, if you went to the library, you wanted to find the information. You had to go out of your way to find the information. Okay. And that was an affirmation of your thirst for knowledge and truth in whatever discipline you were looking to be educated in, for example. And now you're absolutely correct. Everything's at your fingertips. And it feels like in today's time, and it just maybe because I'm getting older, but it feels like we're getting dumber.
Yes.
Or let's not say dumb, let's say more ignorant, because the information's there. They're just choosing not to be educated in it. They're choosing not to take that information and educate themselves.
And like I said, it was all by design. That's all I'm going to say about that.
And I'm sure you and I will get into that at another time.
Oh yeah, say it's just so easy, but they've just polarized it. They've done a damn good job. Again, pardon that French, but they've done they've done a good job at polarizing everything. Most people don't even care to look.
And everything is so team-based. You know, you're waving your pom-poms for your team. You're believing the headline and the talking points, and they're literally not hiding the data, but they're definitely not telling you where to look. And they take everything for truth. And it's crazy. So that being said, let's move forward a little bit. And I want to get your thoughts on what you think of this current 2024 presidential election.
I'll start with the debate topic there, just really quick.
Okay.
Man, I beat Medicaid. You sure did.
I beat it.
Yeah, like that's just the Joe Biden and he has a problem thing that you brought up earlier. I think it's amazing that literally leading up to it, all of the talking heads were talking about he's been preparing for a week and he's so sharp and he has nothing wrong with him and all that. And then, as they're all spending time with him, they all see this. And that comes from talking heads on, all the networks to everyone in his administration, all of them. And then that happens and suddenly they're all going, I didn't know there was anything wrong with him. But he didn't just suddenly turn into that no. And people are just taking it for face value, which just irritates me to death. Like that doesn't happen. And that, we've all been we've been saying this for years, but that's all I'm going to say about that certain thing. It's been there. It's obvious. I wish people didn't just yell at us for years. And again, whenever I bring it up with people through the years, again, I had the TB and traumatic brain injury, wicked concussion, spider-webbed a slab of concrete at the back of my head in Iraq. Whole long thing. We can get into that later. That was fun. But then I had the second one when I got run over. And I have vertigo and, memory issues at times where I just, my train of thought's gone. What I'm saying this from someone that, has had enough severe concussions, just at my age, I know what cognitive impairment looks like. And that's it. That's not me coming from it as a mean human being. I do have, some twitchy things, memory issues, but I got all, again, vertigo that kicks in out of nowhere. I know what it looks like, and I would just get roasted that I'm just being this. I'm sure you've had it where you just get yelled at because you're this, that, and the other thing. It's no, I actually have somewhat. I know what to look for. I know the signs, and that's what's been presenting this whole time. And also, dear people of Scranton, stop letting him use you as a prop.
Yeah, I agree. That's
he hasn't lived there in 80 years.
It's
and
done.
I can say from experience, the city is a pit of what it used to be. The end. Moving on to the rest of the debate, I'm just gonna say that from the Orange Godzilla Hitler.
Yeah,
I still love that Greg Gutfeld coined that one day. I mean, I don't watch them, but I saw that clip. I was like, yeah, that actually is kind of how they built him up. But I thought
they built him up that way. Yeah.
Yep. And then Greg's what? They made him the Orange Godzilla Hitler. I'm that's actually pretty good. You should put that on a coffee mug. You know what? And then they would buy it.
Instant classic.
But, I thought he did what he needed to do in their first debate back in 2020. I don't know if any of you remembered. I do. As I was sitting there just yelling, shut up the whole entire time because he didn't let Joe talk. He was just, where's Hunter? And he was just on the attack the whole time.
Agreed. Yeah.
And I was like, what right there? You just, all those independents that were on the fence, that were it's his attitude. You just proved everything that they've ever said about you. And now you lost them. They're not going to vote for you. This time around, I think he did, apparently someone told him when I was yelling years ago, he acted like an adult and he just, did his thing. He shut his mouth. And I think that was a big win. Never mind everything, everything that came out of it. My big takeaway is he acted like an adult the whole time. And I think that helped him with the independent people that were somehow still on the fence about everything. Because, it's just been year after year. They're just butchering the man. He hasn't gotten a break the whole time, but I think he did a good job holding it together I'll say. He was much better this time around, and I think that mission accomplished with that.
I think that it was a smart move on his part. The thing about Biden is, yes, he's always been that way, and the only people that have been talking about it were those that weren't towing the line for the Democratic Party because we were paying attention. The issue that the media has in trying to hide, their support and apologize for their position is because there's only a few times that people in America pay attention to politics, and one of them is the presidential election. And now all of a sudden, everyone stops to watch when they usually don't, and now everybody's like, what in the hell is going on? Is this real?
Yep.
Yeah, it's been real for over 4-something years. Like before he was even elected.
Well over.
Yeah. He's been a politician for his whole life, for one. He still shouldn't even be serving the American people, in my opinion, at this point. But again, as you would say,
abuse.
Conversation to have at another time, I'm sure. But Trump did the right thing because by doing what he did, and I don't know if this was under advisement, he literally just let Biden expose himself.
That's all he had to do the first time. And this because independents, they're not going to watch another one.
No,
they watched the first one. They went, whoa. And, I think it's going to be must-see TV if they actually do another one. I know they agreed to more. God knows if we're going to see any. But I think I don't know who told him to shut up, but God bless that man for actually finally, because he tried it last time in the second debate, but it was too late. All those independents were like, nope, he's a monster. This time, he went in and acted like an adult, and he said, let's not act like children. You're a child.
That was amazing that he actually said that to Joe Biden.
Let's not act like children. You're a child. I'm like, yep. Debate over.
Right.
But he dotted his I's, he crossed his T's, he did everything he had to do. So he was
definitely poised, confident, and intelligent, and he came off that way absolutely over Joe Biden. Let me switch things up. I was going to ask you one question, but I'm going to go to what you've mentioned before, and in texting back and forth, and this ties into this question, or at least what I'm going to talk about. What killed me about the debate was the media right away tried to say Trump lied 32, 34 times, 400 times. But the interesting thing that everybody missed while everybody was trying to push that rhetoric is CNN literally fact-checked Joe Biden right after the debate and exposed how much he actually lied. And one of those you're sensitive to was his whole not one service person died under my under my presidency. And of course, Afghanistan, the disaster, which...
Oh, that's when I had to leave the house.
Oh, I mean, please elaborate on how you feel about that. Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. Like Hannah was there because she actually wanted to watch the debate this time. And I was just sitting there kind of just, and just holding on to my hair. And then he said that. And I was like, there you go. Right. What if that doesn't prove anything's wrong with him right there? 13 of them right after he took office in a coordinated attack that they knew when it was going to happen and where it was going to happen. And it still happened. And then 13 people didn't get to go home to their families over just sheer and utter incompetence. And the only person that actually called for any accountability, because there hasn't been any, I'm pretty sure was Lieutenant Colonel Schiller. That was his name, right? And we all saw how that worked out for him, but he's doing well now. Apparently he's making lots of money talking. But I thought that him saying that was the biggest slap in the face, disrespect ever, because all of us that served, I tried to go to Afghanistan. They're like, no, bro, you've been here for 10 months. You're going home. We're going to take the new guys that got here halfway through the deployment. I'm like, well, screw the new guys. I want to go. I did not win that argument as a Lance Corporal. Didn't win that one. I tried, but I know a lot of people that went. My friend Alex that I mentioned earlier that got me to join, he was there and lost, one of his best friends. He was the best man at his wedding. We all know someone that went there and did not come back home. And the way that they left with their tail between their legs and just gave everything right back over. We saw it happening on TV for weeks before, everyone seemed to wake up to it. But I know a lot of people that were feeling, the same way when, everything happened in Iraq and the state that it's in now. all of us that lost people, felt that we were at least, we had some feeling of something. Like it was like we were all texting each other when Afghanistan was falling apart, just in disbelief. And there's a lot of anger, there's a lot of tears, there was a lot of all of that, just to see all of it literally, quite literally, be for absolutely nothing. And to see him say that, oh, I had to leave the house. So I called my, Master Guns Patterson. I called his wife because he doesn't answer his phone, and I knew they'd have it on because they live down in San Diego right now. And I listened to it through speakerphone while I was outside because I was pretty salty.
It was a complete disaster how that was handled.
Cluster.
Beyond a disaster.
Yeah.
And it was basically just slapping America in the face. I mean, everyone who served and died, and the money we spent, everything that we did to try to stabilize that area. And in the end, he just dismisses it all with one action, and an extremely offensive action at that.
That's a very nice way of putting it. I don't have that nice of a vernacular when it comes to that situation.
Well, I usually have more choice words. I'm kind of holding back a bit on this one, but
I mean, you heard. You heard.
Well, I've heard a few.
That happened. Go back and find that one. I couldn't even tell what that was the first time back when I still posted them on like YouTube, and when I was doing, everything back then was still all through Anchor, where I didn't even think to look and say, is there explicit content? I didn't even think to hit yes. And within like 30 seconds of it going up, they're like, yeah, about that. And they put that banner on there themselves. I'm like, yeah, I lost track. So
that's funny.
But that was, and again, that happened. All the money, the Taliban's much better armed now. At least they were. They're selling so much of it off. But like we actually left it in worse shape than we got there.
Absolutely.
Taliban 2.0. They're business people. Yeah. That's why they're selling it all off to Hamas, and those weapons have ended up proven in Hamas's hands and other terrorist organizations. They just sold it all to them. So now it's all of our stuff. And I don't know if I tried one time, but I didn't want to get thrown off of, TikTok. I know, hate on me all you want, people. It gets me, to interact with actually at least a few people too, which helps pass the time. But Harry Sisson.
Yeah, I'm familiar.
Like he was, yeah. He was arguing that, well, it was all out of date equipment anyway. And there I am just going, well, please. Like, I didn't have enough followers as I was just yelling at my phone. Like, it's all out of date equipment. I'm like, you do realize that our out of date equipment is still like decades ahead what a lot of those people have, right?
Technologically way more advanced than they'll ever be at for years to come. I mean,
like, it's all out of date. Like, God, it's like,
what a stupid statement, right?
I feel, and that's the worst. Like, when all of this comes crumbling down, which hopefully, in a few months, like, I just want to know what Harry's going to do the rest of his life, because he has shot every ounce of credibility that he's ever had right out of his nose. And he's like, what, 20?
Well, I think most social media personalities and talking heads, and I call them political entertainers, to be quite honest, most of these people, that
that's a nice way.
They have decisions to make, because once Trump's in office, what are they going to do? Because their whole career is just built on bashing Trump. And after Joe Biden's debacle, after the secrets that were trying to be hidden from America have come out about his conditions, and after Trump takes office again, barring some other strange shenanigan at 2 or 3 in the morning with ballots and whatnot, that...
Hey, let's not talk. We're not allowed to talk about that.
Fair enough. I was just throwing it out there because it's a story. It's a story.
I got my former brother-in-law. I was friends with him for forever. He's like, what? I was like, what? Do you see all those 60,000 ballots votes that came in for him? He's like, what? Joe Biden was winning, mail-in ballots. He's like, Joe Biden was winning 2/3 of them. I'm like, yes, 2/3, bro. What? 60,000 to just basic math. What? I know you barely graduated high school. Oh, wait, you dropped out. What is 2/3? Like 40,000. What? You're going to get at least one.
Well,
that's all I'm saying. What? Those numbers did not Anyway,
none of them made sense,
of...
and none of them really did add up when you can take in the population or the populace of those specific areas and districts. But once Trump gets back into office, for example, what are they going to do? I mean, they can continue to try to, beat on him, pull him down, and make him look bad, but it's his last term. Who cares?
Yeah.
And then what?
That's the thing.
Are we going to still have Rachel Maddow's getting paid $100,000 a day or whatever the hell she gets paid once there's no more Trump to talk about? I mean, what's next? What's next for these people? Do they actually care about America and want to talk about relevant topics that actually affect Americans?
No. I mean, come on. I don't know what they're going to do, but 4 more years, and then they're just going to run for 4 more years, and they're just going to keep running forever, even though they realize he just keeps going, and it probably just drives them even more to.
Well, I think that's the beauty of Trump.
Like he said, I wouldn't be here right now if you guys just left me alone. My life would be a lot easier, but none of you could.
You're right. He did say that.
Gone to hell, and here I am.
He did say that. That's funny.
I'd much rather be golfing right now.
And that's the beauty of Trump. He knows he can stick it to him just by existing, just by being
just him breathing is like,
well,
yeah.
So
November.
Let's go on to another sensitive topic. I have a lot of opinions on this, and I'm sure you do, especially being a service member or ex-Marine and whatnot. Border security. What's your thoughts on that?
It's abysmal. Fun fact. By the time this finally comes out, episode 3 of my show will probably be out, and don't you guys worry. I've got pages and pages and pages and pages and pages of numbers for everybody. I'm going to say it's been garbage. It has been garbage. It's going to continue to be garbage. I still like to know how, I think it was NBC, ABC, one of them, like a week ago, posted that Joe Biden, he dropped the numbers all the way down to 88,000 in June. I'm like, that's cool, because I was on the Border Patrol's website and they don't have June's numbers posted yet. So I'm still trying to figure out where the hell they got that from.
I don't get them trying to still spin that.
But let's just go with the only person that saw these numbers was, like, in the last, let's say, this century, was George Bush. He had crazy high numbers in 8 years. Those were bad, but those were 8 years. Yeah, those were 8 years. Obviously, he kept getting, lower there. Obama, in 8 years, his numbers actually weren't catastrophic. If you look at them, they weren't good, but they weren't catastrophic. Trump had his 4 years. And, total, it wasn't that bad. If you look at the numbers, and I don't understand how people can't just Google search it, it literally will pull up, I had a whole entire thing on the website that had 20 years of data just sitting there in front of my face. It only took me 5 seconds. But he let in more people so far right now, and that's without June's numbers, than we had confirmed in the last 12 years combined.
Yeah,
in 3.5 years.
I did a special episode a while back where I went over this data, and I also focused in on Ilhan Omar, one of my favorites, and went through her past, and then also talked about the border issues. And in that specific episode, I have a ton of facts and links that you could go and click on in the show notes. And I got a lot of it from the Border Patrol website.
I'm just gonna say, she sucks. Border sucks.
We can get into Ilhan another time. Believe me.
The border bill sucked. The border bill. Don't worry, everyone listening. There's air quotes around it. Thousands of inadmissible.
The funny thing about the border. The funny thing about the border is
3.5 years.
Yeah. The funny thing about the border is that under Biden's presidency, I counted it. Their encounters with people and actual encounters where they actually catch people, not people that they don't catch that get through. They already have encountered and caught and stopped 1,700 some odd terrorists, known terrorists, under Biden's watch alone. That number was nowhere near that under Trump's. And I think it's crazy that they want to say, one of his campaign talking points now is, I closed the border. No, you didn't. Nobody opposed you closing the border. I'm talking about Joe Biden. They just didn't like you kept stuffing all this money in to go to Ukraine while trying to close
one of those things.
Yeah.
But Yeah, which...
And Trump had no support, yet somehow his numbers were about a quarter what Biden's disastrous numbers on the border are.
I think, official apprehensions, you can quote me, correct me where I'm wrong, but I think Trump's last 3 years combined barely beat Joe's first year alone.
Yeah, I think Joe's first year was...
since then.
Wasn't his first year about 1.2 or 1.4 million?
Yeah, I have it underneath this drill sitting on here, and the cable for my microphone is sitting on top of that drill, and I'm not chancing moving that, but...
No worries.
Yeah, it was
somewhere up there. It was astronomical comparatively.
Yeah, it was one of those numbers you're like, what?
So another thing that was proven to be a lie on Joe Biden's side, aside from the economy itself as well, but yet somehow, the people with the pom-poms on the Democratic side still want to cheer and jump up and down and say, no, that's a lie. Worst ever under Trump. Biden's fixing the economy. The border's the best ever. I really don't understand how in America, the only way to debate and prove an argument is by doing so with facts and data. And when you prevent that, how does the other person still not believe you?
Yeah. I'm right there.
I don't get it.
On a spiritual level, I feel, but I did like that when you said, the economy thing where I don't even remember which network it was, but the first thing they put up there was, Trump's lies, he had the best economy ever. God, people, what? Joe Biden said it too.
Right.
And are we really comparing and contrasting economies right now? I mean, that's probably not the best mark. And I also, again, former brother-in-law, he stopped talking to me, whatever. But he told me I was crazy because in December of 2020, I refinanced this thing. It was beautiful. Home of mine. I'm like, but I'm never going to see a rate like this anytime soon. Got it locked down at 2.25. Like, guess what? Joke's on him.
Yeah, I mean, literally.
2.25. I'm like, what? I know what's about to happen. What? Why? Because I've been here. What? I was paying attention while you were, going out bar hopping every night. What? I was actually paying attention to the world. And right now, what? I'm actually still paying attention to the world.
I mean, hey,
I'm going to do this.
We did the same thing. We saw where things were at and did a refi. It got a low rate. Now things are going back up to 7. And under Biden's presidency, I mean, it seems like the American dream is not attainable anymore.
Yeah.
It just really isn't.
Probably the thing that pisses me off the worst about it all. I mean, it actually infuriates me. That was just, what does he say? The bottom up and the middle out. Yeah, the middle is out to the bottom, and the bottom just doesn't even know what to do anymore.
True. I agree with that. Yeah.
Because they say it's working for everyone. Well, the cost of everything's through the roof. That doesn't hurt rich people. Mortgage rates are through the roof. That insurance rates, you name it. But interest rates for loans, if you want to get anything, everything's that doesn't hurt the wealthy. That only hurts the normal folks. So,
I mean,
yeah.
This is all America has to know about Biden's economic plan versus Trump's economic plan. And it was very evident when Biden made the statement that inflation does not affect the cost of goods. I have no idea where he got that information or how he even came to that conclusion, but good luck.
I don't think he knows.
I mean, you're literally devaluing the dollar. How does it not affect cost of goods? As a business owner, I can tell you it absolutely affects cost of goods, cost of operations, employment, tax. I mean, you name it across the board.
Cost of everything.
Oh my.
But remember, it's not happening. It's a right-wing conspiracy theory. It's transitory. It's your fault for buying things. Oh, and then it was Putin's fault, even though it was already up over double, triple what it was when they took office before Putin ever got anywhere near Ukraine. But that's, again, that whole entire thing is a long conversation.
Complete agreement. How they could blame all this on Putin when our own government is willingly funneling billions and billions of dollars to support a country who, by the way, nobody would ever do business with before, because Ukraine, guess what, historically is a very corrupt government. Zelensky himself has arrested his own political opponents and has disappeared people.
Yes, he has.
But somehow those facts are never talked about.
Yeah, and I mentioned Crystal earlier. Her brother actually met a Ukrainian woman online through some, I don't even know. I'm not even going to try to figure out how to know, but they were talking for forever. And she was actually right there in Kyiv and all of that was, and thankfully, again, she's in some other country now, but she was sitting there talking to like, I was listening to conversations. She's like, "What? You guys don't even know the half of it. But
Oh, I'm sure.
you don't even know with this dude." I'm like, "Well, thank you for calling him this dude.
Yeah.
I'm sure you actually could have said something way worse in Ukrainian, and I never would have known. So thank you. Thank you for putting it into something that I'm not going to have to go and try to Google later. Appreciate you.
Thank you for being nice.
But hey, well, it's not even really trying to remember. It's just trying to, because I'm taking German lessons and all that, and it's just it's not Ukrainian. But when they say something, I'm like, I gotta try to like just trying to fathom how to spell it. I'm like, thank you for saying this, dude. Why? Because I'd be sitting there for 20 minutes just trying to spell that, and that would get me nowhere. But yeah, she's like, you guys don't even know. You'll never know. And where it's really just a money pit, except it's a money pit funneling, washing, whatever you want to,
Oh, it's a big money laundering. It's a big money laundering operation.
And we're never, I don't know how you feel about it, but I don't find it to be a winnable situation. Anyway,
you're talking about winnable between
for Ukraine.
No, it's not. It just isn't. They're not.
They just don't have. They don't have the resources.
No.
They don't have the military resources. They don't have the amount of people. Like, it's just one of those.
I mean, they're kidnapping middle-aged men.
Yeah.
To go fight at this point.
Yeah. Like it's a complete. I got notes stacked up somewhere in this giant cluster of just my stacked stuff and her stacked stuff. But it's that isn't money laundering. I don't know what is, because that thing sucked the whole time. But back to the moral. Yeah. I don't remember where we were, but blaming Putin for it. There we go. But that was
well, we're talking about
that was a nice touch.
We're talking about Biden's disastrous statements that really was a disrespect to all America and all service members. And we talked about the border security. And I mean, basically, we're just chatting about the 2024 presidential election in general. And
I think people need to be more informed. That's why I'm glad there's people like you and me and everyone else out there at least putting in the work.
I feel like, I don't know about, well, you stated earlier, you felt like you had to do this. I got into this kind of for the same reason. It's like I'm looking at the landscape and hearing everybody just talking. I mean, they're just speaking nonsense. And I'm sitting here going, look, if this clown could be out here with a platform spewing a bunch of bullshit, then why don't I give this a shot? Why don't I go ahead and tell the world a little bit about things from my perspective, but also not just an opinion, also present facts as well. I mean, let's be honest, we all have our own opinions based on our life experiences and how we go through things and what's thrown at us. I mean, we're all going to have an opinion, but in the end, there's a fact out there. And once you find those and uncover those, I believe that is the duty of people like us to go ahead and present those to the world so people can see there's a truth and an alternate way of thinking or looking at it. And even if we don't convince somebody, at least we threw it out there and they had the opportunity to educate themselves. Just to be quite honest, Jesse, I'll tell you, I listen sometimes to some liberal or democratic podcasts and news, and there's times I'll go, oh, okay, I get it. I get their point. It makes sense, but it's not always the majority of the time that is the case, but it does. There's some things where I'm like, yeah, okay, that makes sense. So the problem I have, and I don't know how you feel about this, especially being in the political space as a podcaster, or, whatever you want to call us these days, is I tried so hard to stay neutral, to look at both sides and present things from both sides, whether they were fact, fiction, whether I can call someone out on their shit, as I usually say. Mm. But to be quite honest, it got harder and harder for me to stay neutral at times.
Oh yeah.
How do you feel about that statement?
1,000%. But the thing that I've worded it as nicely as I can lately, because Hannah's always all one. sometimes you start them, like sometimes they leave me no other option. But is these people out there, and again, this goes, because there's people on both sides that this, goes along with, but people let their opinions make up what the facts actually are and whether they're going to listen, unlike letting the facts change their opinion. Whatever their opinion is changes the facts. And I think that when that happens, as much as it does, because it's all over everywhere. I mean, I don't know. I do try to, watch both sides of the argument, and try to keep tabs just to see. Because, again, like you said, every once in a while, I'm like, that actually makes sense. Doesn't happen very often, but every once in a while they hit, something out of the ball, or you're like, they actually aren't lying there. And it completely blows my mind. But there's certain topics where she's even come in here, like, while I was in mid-recording and opened the door. She's like, dude. And if you go back, you can even probably find some of those episodes where she's like, you hear the door creaking open. She's like, bro. I'm like, what? I tried what, but
she's like, please just tone it down a bit.
Like, I heard too what. I try to be nice to, like, I try, but there's just some times where they're just spewing just so much garbage, and so many people are eating into it, just eating plate after plate after plate of it, even though it takes 9 seconds to, like, and they're like, even people I've known for forever literally coming at me, just screaming, saying that I'm out of my mind and I'm this, that, and the other thing, even though I'm like, and I'll send them the link and be like, no, really, dude, like, that's straight from his own people. Like,
right.
That's their website. That's not me. That's that. And they're still defending it and saying that I'm like, so they make it kind of hard at times to stay neutral I always try anymore. Like, I'm trying to be, again, I'm all grown up now. Yeah.
Right.
Trying. But yeah, it's ever hard, I'd say, in today's climate.
It's almost like
to be able to do that.
Yeah. It seems at times that it's really fanatical, and it can be fanatical on both sides. And sometimes I feel like it's really arguing one religion over another, because it's mostly faith-based decisions, as you would say, their opinions, but it seems like they're operating on faith more than fact. And that happens on our side too, on the conservative side. I mean,
that happens on
I am not
every side.
a far-right fan, to be quite honest. It does get to a point where it goes a little too far. I mean, let's make sense of things.
There's crazy people on both sides, everybody.
Absolutely.
And in between.
Yes,
and
true.
On sides you don't even know are sides.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. I hope that the message gets out there more, not the indoctrinating message, but the message of, truth, for example, presenting facts, and maybe even opposing views that will help you see things differently. And that's always been my hope.
Yeah. And we used to actually, like, that's the thing that has irritated me most, because I was so young, so many head injuries ago, I couldn't, but we actually used to have that, where we'd have, like, a person from each side, like, on TV together, on shows together, just, like, debating the things and going back and forth. And that was the whole entire premise of their thing. Now we can't even be in, like, most of them can't even be in the same room as one another. And it's just so, I want to say, tribal and fanatical, and it's just, I don't know. I don't have an actual word for that, surprisingly.
Well, and aside from people just reading the headlines and not going into the details, I think the other problem that may have led to where we are now is you don't have a good representation of what an actual debate is. As you said, for the last, I don't know, let's say 8 to 10 years, maybe more, debates on the news, as they would like to call themselves, and that's me air quoting, is just a bunch of people on the screen yelling over each other and not really having a conversation. So you can't even make sense of what the hell's going on. Also, the presidential debates have gotten that way. It's more about slinging slanders and trying to make people look bad. Like they're a bunch of schoolyard children, right? Just trying to insult each other, than focusing on the actual issues and debating on those actual issues. And they get elected based on their popularity or how bad someone scolds the other and makes them look ridiculous, when it really should be based on what are their policies, what do they believe in, and how does this affect America? I don't know why we got away from that or how that was acceptable to get away from that.
I mean, that's why I don't watch like any of the primary debates, especially what during the Democrats. Last time they had like 17 people on the stage at one point. Like it was just mudslinging the whole time. And, that's what got us here. But I think, again, like I said earlier, I think it's all been by design. They're just they've set it up so everyone's just so busy arguing with each other. Like literally everybody. I mean, it's just like, again, go on anything. Everyone's there just, arguing with each other and throwing mud and everything else that they do. And it makes it's by design. Because, I mean, look at us all now. Look at how many, everything's just that way, whether it's on, news things and you turn on any social media influencer, news headlines, debates, everything's just mudslinging and so much vitriol across, sides that now everyone's so busy doing that no one gives a damn about what the stats are. No one cares about looking up anything. They're just so busy arguing with one another that, now that's all anyone sees. And I think that makes it, a lot easier for people to be like, that's what we're supposed to do. And that tribalism, I think that's the best word I can come up with for it. And I think that's what's gotten us so ignorant, I believe is the word you used, because it's easy to do whatever the hell you want when everyone's too busy arguing with one another all the time. And that's all it's been for, I don't know. It's been a long time. It's really, 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 really turned up to 1 million since a certain guy came down an escalator. That means there hasn't been like civil conversations anywhere since then. It's just name calling the whole entire time, no matter where you turn.
Yes.
And it makes it makes it a lot easier for them to be like, what best border numbers ever? And we're just sitting there like, and we're sitting there going, huh?
Yeah.
Except most people are just going, yep, sure. Yeah. They see the headline, they keep moving on, and they're just too busy just attacking all the time. It's like it's put the society just in high alert mode
all the
time. And
how do you feel about our future as a country?
Right now, the direction we're going. Right now, I still have all the faith. You still have to have faith no matter how things are, but I think we're going to need, because anything could be turned around. Except for my marriage. That couldn't, but that's another story. We tried, but anything could be turned around. I just think it's going to take so much work to get us there. And I have faith. I always try to. I always want to see the good. Yeah. You always try to see the best in everybody in every situation, even people that don't like you, at least in my experience, because, that leads to, bad things down the road, having all those feelings, for me personally. I tried to see the best. I hope for the best. I think, everything can be turned around, but we just need to have like the biggest fire hose known to mankind, like ever, just sprayed down on everyone to douse the flames, because everything's just been so go for so long. And I just don't know how long it's going to take, if we get a chance to, get everything going in the, right direction again. Because I know people that are related to people that, stopped talking since everything just got so,
so polarized, right?
Yeah. Like everything's just so, like, I know like literal family members that don't talk just because they're on separate, like political sides. I'm like, you guys could still talk, like that's how you actually perpetuate the problem and don't get anywhere is, again, no one can have conversations. It's just screaming matches all the time. And until we start doing that, and having conversations, nothing's going to get turned back around. But I always have faith that, it's America, right?
Yes.
We've all been through some things. Through everything in my life, all, trials and tribulations, just like everyone else, you can turn things around as long as you have the right mindset. And again, finally, after everything that happened before I got ran over, I finally was like, screw it, man, when everything's good. And I finally started turning the sheet when a lot of things finally started, dying down, turning around. And I stayed positive and it worked. That, if you have a positive mindset, we can get through anything.
I believe so.
I honestly believe that.
I believe
That's
so.
all you got to have. And that starts, everything, the wheels turning in the proper direction. We just have to get everybody there, and the flames desperately need doused because,
Well,
powder keg.
good energy is infectious, right?
Yes.
Absolutely. And it will definitely put out negative energy for sure.
Yes.
I believe that.
So I don't think it's, as hopeless as some people do. I think, again, I was positive. There's always hope. Nothing's, to quote John Rambo, nothing is over. Nothing.
Good old Rambo.
Hey, First Blood, that was a classic, but
Absolutely.
Nothing is over. Nothing. You don't just turn it off, and and that good is still in everybody. I just don't think anyone's calmed down and took a breath long enough to realize just how turned up everything has been.
I'm going to say I am glad that we ran into each other, even if it was through, text messaging and Zoom and whatnot. I have a feeling you and I are going to have many more conversations, to be honest.
Hey, I'm down.
I want to, we'll probably wrap this up here soon, but I do want to ask you about your artwork that you brought up before. What is that about? Can you explain what you're doing there?
Well, you see, this came about last year for me and my girlfriend's anniversary, because I spent all my money on, because I didn't have a lot. Let's be honest here. Things were a lot, more chaotic in life, at this point, at that point last year. But I did it just to paint her something because she likes sentimental things, and she had like art supplies around and stuff. And so I painted our first camping trip that we did together. Like I put that on there, and if you look at it now compared to some of the stuff I did, I just laugh. Literally, you can tell what it is, but but
just the progression of your skill, right?
Oh yeah, it was a rapid ascension in my. Yeah,
that's awesome.
At least that's what everyone tells me. But yeah, I want to say, I don't remember when, but it was well over a year ago. I lost my mental health doctor at the VA. Again, just because, she moved on. HHS offered her more money. I don't blame her. I know what her caseload was with people, here where I am. Trust me, I know. I lost my primary care doctor, which I still haven't had. Again, over a year. They still, whole other thing. And, there's a lot of things just, irking me. Again, like I told you last year, was just, rough between health stuff, untimely deaths of people, all that. I just started painting, and I found it to actually be quite therapeutic to just sit down and have a vision in my head and just go. And, I've started off with that archaic thing. It's awesome, but and I've gone everywhere from, painting Captain Spaulding from Rob Zombie's House of a Thousand Corpses. His face turned out outstanding.
Awesome.
I did a whole lot of Grinches during Christmas times for people. I gave them away as gifts. It was pretty outstanding. Real Monsters. That was one of my favorites that I did. I don't know how it turned out as well, especially as I painted the background color 9 times because I never liked it. But that's at a new home. And really, I just started, I was like, let this actually, because, it just sits down and, you just have to put your mind on that. And it helps, actually clear a lot of, bad space out of your head. If you do, have any kind of stuff, again, life in general, head injuries, PTSD, all those fun things, it was really good and therapeutic, and it helped, deal with a lot of things when the VA wasn't there, and again, I don't blame my doctor. She had her caseload. I couldn't tell you the number, but it was just through the roof, nonstop, all the time. I didn't have anything. I didn't have anyone to reach out with there that I felt actually cared. And again, that could just be my area here. I do have the greatest neurologist in the, ever in the world though. So Dr. Oster, that's a shout out to you because he handles everything for me now. And he is a saint. And I told him he better never leave. He chuckled. I'm like, I'm not laughing, bro. You're not going anywhere. But I use that as just, a form of therapy. And I tried to turn it, just if I can make a few extra dollars in the process, then, that helped too. But really, it was just as a form of therapeutic thing. And there were just so many of them stacking up that I do it that way. And when I go down to see my other veteran friends when they're around, I bring them art supplies and we sit down and we just, throw some paint around and just laugh and reminisce. And I find it, to be just a really good form of therapy to do. I highly recommend it to everybody. I mean, because even if you don't think you're that good, I mean, doing it really is a good way to help, clear your head and get a lot of that dark matter out of there and clear your headspace. So that's all it was. I really enjoy it though. I haven't done anything in a few months. Last painting I did was for my parents. It was my first underwater anything. It was my first shark. She was like, oh, everyone's like, that's a great shark. I'm like, yeah, now I'm not painting another one. Don't worry. I will though. But yeah, I just use it as a form of therapy, and it turned into just, I had so much, and people, really appreciated it, more than I did, even because I was just doing it to clear my headspace and painting things that I liked. And art therapy, it's a hell of a medicine, and it's a lot better for you than any of the stuff they try to pump into your system through the VA. Again, that's a whole other day's worth of conversation we can have about the VA.
One of my uncles was on VA care. I know another person who is on VA care. I mean, I've had some interactions. I myself know, but I've seen what they have gone through, and I think that would be a great episode to where you can revisit that conversation for sure.
Yeah.
So
it's therapeutic, just like this.
I hope that after this episode gets released, that this helps drive more traffic to your podcast, the Jesse Rucinski Show. Also, though, bringing up your artwork, I know you have some items for sale on Etsy. How can people support your efforts? Because a lot of people don't realize, being an independent podcaster, we don't make money doing this. It's very rare that we make anything at all. And we put a lot of time, lots of time, in trying to make these things happen. So how can people support your efforts?
If you go on, I got the Facebook page, Instagram, and I think it's on X. On X, it's J Rucinski Paints, just because you only have so many characters. Otherwise, it's Jesse Rucinski Creations on everything. That's the handle on Etsy as well. You can see everything that's on there, and you could definitely see the ones that are older on there that I just look at and I go, I'll just give it to someone for free if they pay for shipping at this point. There's some of them, but Jesse Rucinski Creations on there, and on Etsy. And you could also, message me on there if you have something custom that you'd like done. Just, and if I could do it, I'll do it, just because I've had people, do that. And that's actually turned out to be some of the better things that I've done, even though I will say that the backside of Alcatraz and the Golden Gate Bridge is probably the best thing I ever did. Or the Grinch's mugshot, but those are, arguments to have another day. But yeah, Jesse Rucinski Creations on Etsy. And there's stuff there. Again, I'm going to try to start painting more. I've just been putting more time into, getting the show back going in, getting all, everything proper and done right. So I haven't updated anything because I haven't touched anything. And I've touched the paint. I haven't done anything. I haven't found that right motivation because I've been doing the show. But if you go on Jesse Rucinski Creations, free shipping, I'll do a custom anything if I can do it. And again, it helps bring a little bit of stuff. I used some of it to help get to pay for, what did I get? I got my microphone right here with money from that. So I didn't have to go out of pocket for that. So I could actually have a decent microphone. So it does help. And no, we don't really make any money off of doing it. So every little bit, it helps. And a piece of me is on that canvas. So,
well, at this point, how often do you drop an episode?
Every Wednesday.
Every Wednesday. So once a week, you're releasing an episode. You got a new one coming out already
tomorrow morning.
Tomorrow. So
whenever this releases.
We're recording on Tuesday, July 9th. So July 10th, there will be a new episode, and every Wednesday after that. So I encourage everybody to go listen to the Jesse Rucinski Show. I hope that you get a ton of traffic there and a lot of support. I just want to thank you for your time. I really do. I appreciate the conversation.
I want to thank you.
Oh, this is good.
I want to thank you for reaching out. Again, I was honestly, it was one of those, I saw it. I'm like, am I being punked?
No, not at
this doesn't happen ever. And then I think I just dated myself.
Oh shit.
Good job, Ashton Kutcher. What? You just got punked. Yeah. But time is precious. And, to get to sit down and talk to anybody, and have an actual conversation, again, doesn't happen all the time. And to get to hit a bunch of stuff is, very appreciative. Anyone that's listening, to this, even if you don't check me out, but thank you for listening to us. Cause, again, once you go through enough and the older you get, all the times you're growing up and they're like, time is precious. And you're like, yeah, sure. Now get out of the way because you have a million things to do. What time really it is. And even if my brain never turns off until about an hour or so after I take my sleeping meds from the VA, shout out to that. That's the one good thing they do. And really, they're both migraine suppressors. They just happen to render me unconscious, which is great because I don't sleep otherwise. My brain's always going. And, just to let me into wherever you are, your car, your house, whatever. I appreciate the time. And you ask what, I'll do it again.
I'm glad you're doing it. I hope people find you, and I encourage them to listen to your show. So again, thanks for your time. And I know that you and I will have more conversations for sure. I'm very, very sure of that. So
yes, sir.
all right. Well, thank you.
Thank you.